Hello techies, I'm Divya here. On behalf of CyberBrainer, don't you think the world of tech is evolving faster than ever? Now is the perfect time to dive in and build the skills that will take you places. With CyberBrainer, we are putting you in the driver's seat of your own future. We at CyberBrainer don't just teach your interest. We believe that knowledge is power, but it's applied knowledge that truly sets you apart. Whether you're diving into data science, mastering artificial intelligence, or exploring the world of cybersecurity, our courses are designed to give you the skills that matter. So let's jump into the session and make the future yours today. Thank you.
It's assigned to the position. Perfect. And what else? The position is assigned to the role. The position is assigned to the role. And the role is associated with a security group. And the role is also associated with an organization. When we say role-based security group, constraint, what is the constraint that we are talking about? The access is only to the organization where there is a role defined. Yes, the role is constrained to the organization where we have assigned the role. Perfect. That was about role-based security. And then what are the configurations we created as part of role-based security group? First, what did we do? We created a role. What was the task to do that? Maintain assignable roles. Maintain assignable roles. Maintain assignable roles. Maintain assignable roles. There we created our assignable role. And then there were some parameters, single assignment. And then we have what else? Hide on view if not assigned. And self. Are we clear with those? Do you want me to go over those one more time? Those parameters that we had. Self assigned. Hide on view if not assigned. No, we are good. We are good. Then after we created the role, then what did we do? We created a security group. What was the task for that? Create security group. Create security group. We chose the security group type as role-based security group. Constraint, that's what we selected, and then we had a few options there. First of all, we had to associate the role with the role-based security group. We did that, and what is the recommendation there? Between the role and the role-based security group. About the naming. Name should be the same. We will try to keep the names as the same. That's what we will try. And then there were some options in the role-based security group about the inheritance. And we chose the default option which says to the organization and unassigned subordinates. That's what we chose. And there were other options only to the organization, for all subordinates, and to subordinates to a certain level. These are the other three options that we had. We will choose judiciously. And then we went to the organization, to the supervisory organization type, and we assigned the role to a position. And we discussed what happens if the position is vacant. Happens if the position is vacant, can we still assign the role to a vacant position or an unfilled position? Yes, we can, but there is no person, there is no worker for that particular security. Sorry for the particular role. Then what happens? Who does the actual work? It is inherited from the inherited. Yes, if there is a role assignment done at the superior organization level, then it will be inherited from the superior organization. Yes, and then we also started talking about a user-based security group. Now, what is the difference between a role-based and a user-based security group? The role-based is they have roles are assigned to the position, whereas the user they have access to the entire system. What can we call this kind of a security group that can access the entire system? One constraint, unconstrained. Perfect. Yes, because there is no constraint as such, it is unconstrained. It is a typically an unconstrained type of a security group, and the typical examples are your administrators, auditors, report writers. These are some typical examples of a user-based security group. Now, does anyone remember what is the process? Maintained security group. It is Workday controlled. Workday delivered. And then what does it do? How is the membership defined to those security groups? For role-based, we assign the role to the position. We assigned it manually to the security group. We assign the Workday accounts directly. Now what happens in a process? Maintain security group. Based on process, Workday itself will. Based on process, Workday itself will employees as self, all employees. What are the two types of process maintained security groups? Two versions. One is as self examples or employee as self, contingent worker as self, retiree as self, terminee and on. And the other is a version which says all instances of that group. For example, all employees, all contingent workers, all retirees, all termines, etc. The is the other version of the process maintained security group. Now can we assign a user manually to this particular process? Maintain security group. Yes, we can sure. Yes, then how does it? How does it differ from a user-based security group? My question was, can we assign a user directly to the process maintained security group? What would be your answer? Yes or no? We can assign, we can change. We can change what? We can change the permissions. We can change the domain security policy permissions. We can change the business process security policy permissions, but can we assign a user to the process maintained security group? The answer to that would be no, we cannot do that. We cannot assign a user to the process maintained. Security group. That is the difference between the other type of security groups and this one. And how? Is the user assigned by Workday itself? Depending on the process, hire, termination, transfer, etc. Depending on the process, it will automatically assign the worker to that particular security group. This was about domain security policy permissions. We talked about the domain security policies, and then we talked about the different kind of security groups that we have in Workday. Absolutely the most commonly used ones. User-based security, role-based security. We talked about those. Now you said the domain security policy permissions. Talk about access to the data objects and to the reports or tasks. And it gives you what kind of access? View mode. And we also have get input for integrations. What is the other type of security policy that we have? The business process security policy. The business process security policies are associated with functional areas, just the domains. Because if you remember, when we talked about functional areas, we had domain. Components of functional areas. What is domains? One is business processes. Business processes are also associated with functional areas, just your domains are, and the business processes are secured by the business process security policy. The business process security policies will control the access to the business process, and it contains things who can initiate the business process, who can approve tasks in a business process, Who can view the steps? Who can rescind? Rescind meaning roll back. Who can roll back the business process? Who can cancel? An in-progress business process, who can correct or make changes to the business process. Each of those kind of things will be controlled by the business process security policy. And another important thing is the business process security policy also controls who can be added to the business process definition or steps in the workflow. You did your assignment 3. And when you were editing the business process, the higher business process, you remember there was a task where you went to the business process definition and you edit it. And you added a step called propose compensation higher correct. And then you went ahead and selected compensation partner in the drop-down list. Did that now. How do we define that drop-down list? How do we ensure who all allowed in that particular step? That is what is controlled by the business process security policy as who can do those steps in the business process definition. It's not up to our whims and fancies. This process step should be done by such and such. First, we have to go to the security policy and we have to ensure that that security group is allowed to do that step in the business process definition. It's a very common mistake. Even senior consultants sometimes miss this part, that in the business process security policy you also have to do that to enable the security group that will be able to perform that particular task. How do we navigate to the business process security policy? You go to the business process definition. Here we are looking at the definition. Can you tell me what is the business process definition that we are looking at in this particular diagram? What is the business process definition we are showing in this particular expense report event? Expense report event, it is mentioned. Here, it is the expense report event business process definition that we are looking at. In the business process definition, you can go to related actions and then go to business process policy. And then you can either view the policy or you can edit the policy, depending on what you want. This is how you are able to easily view the business process security policy for a particular business process definition. What is the other way of doing it? The other way of doing it is using the report called Business Process Security Policies for Functional Area. Remember, we had a task called we have the domain security policies for functional area. We also have the business process security policies for functional area task. And that let me go in and slogan that will give you the business process security policy associated with a particular business process definition. Now here, let me give you a warning. As part of your assignments and everybody of you created a business process definition. For your supervisory organization, the higher business process definition all of you created. Using the create, copy or link definition menu path. Now you have your own definitions of the business process. Now hear me out carefully. There may be multiple definitions of the same business process type. Maybe Divya has created one, Mohan has created one, Shruti has created one, Suchicha has created one, Sapna has created a definition as part of their assignments, but the underlying security policy is the same. For all business processes of the same type. Let me rephrase that. For all your higher business Process definitions for all the higher business process definitions in the tenant, the security policy is the same. I will pause. I'll let you take a note of it, or maybe I'll let you grasp that your business process security policy is not different for each definition. It's not different for Smutty or Mohan or Divya, or for me for that matter, or Vasharendra. It's the same business process security policy that is controlling all the business process definitions in that particular tenant. Whenever you are changing the business the process policy, you are not changing it for yourself alone, you are changing it for everybody. Have that understanding, appreciate that point. Because you are not changing the policy for yourself. You are not testing out something only for yourself if you are changing the security policy for the business process definition. That means every single person in the tenant is impacted, whoever is using that business process. Whenever you are making the change, be cognizant of this fact that this is going to happen. You are impacting everybody. It is better not to experiment too much with the business process security policies and follow along the assignments, or do the changes only that are necessary because you are changing, you are affecting everybody. Whenever you are going for this business process policy and editor view, you see that if I'm now in the tenant, if I'm going to business process security policies for functional area, if I go to this particular task, it will ask me that what is the functional area that you are looking at? Let's go to staffing. And let's look at the higher business process. We have worked with that business process in the past. Let's look at that. If I look at this particular business process security, you will see that let's wait for it to open up. Now, if you look at this particular business process security policy, in any part of the screen, does it say hi for XYZ Motors? Hi for, let's say, O_XYZ Motors. At any point, does it say that? Think it just says business process type is higher. That's what it says. It does not say higher folks is motors. We understand and appreciate the point that if we are making a change to the security policy that will impact everybody in this particular tenant. I can see already that somebody is making unnecessary changes to this particular business process security policy. There's somebody who is doing this Motown organization partner. He or she is already making changes that they should not. I have to fix this going forward. You see that they thought that they're making changes to only their own assignment. But you see here that now what happens? Can a manager initiate the higher employee task? What do you think? Who can start the business process? Higher employee. Can a manager initiate the higher employee task? The manager can no longer do that here also. The another higher employee does, thankfully. Here, that person has not made much changes. I hope the manager is here somewhere. No, the manager has been removed. Now the manager cannot hire workers in their own supervisory organization thanks to the security policy changes that our friend has done. Now it's become very, very difficult. Now, if I go here down, again here, not allowed again. If I scroll down, hire an employee from the related actions of the pre-hire. Can the manager do that again? No, because they are not authorized. Hire employees, search for existing pre-hires and then do it. You see again the HR partner, etc. are not allowed to do that. You will see the impact of this. If I go to our supervisory organization, which is a W, or let's say the other one, XYZ Motors, here we had a worker, and let's look at the staffing tab. Oh, it's position management. Let's go to manufacturing. I'm just trying to show you the impact that it has. I think we did bulk of our hiring. Where did we do? In sales, did we do in sales? We did in sales, we did. It seems where this is under executive. Here we did a lot of hiring. Let's go to staffing. I hope we have the options. Yes, we have quite a few open job opening. Let's go to the related actions. And if you go to hire, still we have some hire employee. Maybe they have included Logan as part of the Motown security group as. But if Logan was not part of that Motown, we would not see the hire employee options because now they have restricted it to only a certain security groups. Any change you make, it affects all the business processes in that particular tenant. Now let's take a look at how the business process security policy looks. The first section is who can start the business process. There are multiple ways to start the business process. Just we saw in the hire business process as it has this huge section called who can start the business process. Now take a look at this. We are talking about the expense report business process. Can you tell me who can start the business process by the action create expense report? Who all are allowed to create an expense report, that is, create expense report for pre-hire. I asked who can create an report. If you look at, your answer is not wrong, but there is a better answer you see. Look at this section where the initiating action is create expense report. Who can do that? Who can create an expense report? The contingent worker as self, employee as self. That's correct. Yes, that's correct because that's logical, isn't it? The employee should be able to create an expense report. The contingent workers should be able to create an expense report. But see what kind of security groups are these? Let me ask you this. What kinds of security groups are these contingent worker? As self-employee as self. Is it a role-based or user-based or process-maintained? Process maintained. It's a process maintained. Security group all. Because there we saw examples as self and all workers. Those are the two examples. This contingent worker as self. They can initiate the process to create an expense report for themselves. When it says employee as self, will they be able to create an expense report for a colleague? An ordinary employee. Will they be able to create an expense report for a colleague? No, it says create expense report but to be done by employee as self. They will be able to create one for themselves but not for somebody else. Who can create expense reports for a colleague? Other people. Let's try to see if there are any other tasks that we can use. There is a task which says create expense report for pre-hire. Now can someone remind me who is a pre-hire? Where did we see a pre-hire before hiring? If just before hiring, before the hiring process initiates, we create a pre-hire. And what is a pre-hire? Or what or who is a pre-hire? It's a candidate, that we are about to hire into the system, who can create an expense report. For a pre-hire now in some organizations, at least a few years ago sometimes, what used to happen was the company would reimburse the expense report. Expenses that a person would have to incur for getting recruited. Let's say, I say that my office is in Wall Street. My office is in Wall Street. I want you to come down to my office for a face-to-face interview. And the candidate who I am interviewing might be in Chicago. But I want that person to come down to my New York Wall Street office for a face-to-face interview. Then what happens? The candidate has to incur some expenses to come over from Chicago to New York for this job. Why will the candidate come? Or why would the candidate spend a lot of money to come and stay in New York just to appear for the interview? What happened was, in a lot of the cases, that organizations used to do what? They used to reimburse that. We will pay the expenses. We will pay you some, let's say train charges or bus tickets or maybe flight tickets. We will reimburse that, and we will also reimburse your stay and some meals for the interview. It used to happen. Nowadays we have video calling. It is not that common, but at least 5-6 years ago, it was quite common for employers, to call candidates down for a face-to-face interview and also reimburse the expenses. Now tell me, coming back to our discussion on business process definitions and security policies, can you tell me who can create an expense report on behalf of an applicant or a pre-hire? Recruit. Partner. HR partner, who else? Or recruiter. Recruiter or implementers manager. All the security groups that are mentioned in this particular box, they will be able to create an expense report for an applicant. Or a pre-hire, they would be able to do that. Now let's say I do not want the expense data. Entry specialist to be able to do that. Then what should I do? I do not want the expense data entry specialist to be able to create an expense report for pre-hire. Then what should I do? Yes, correct. But in this screen, what do I need to do? Remove it from the security group. Just take it off. As is present, X button, remove it. Just remove that security group. And then do what? After you remove, save it. And then you have to do something special. Activate, that's the most common. That's the most important thing that you have to do after you remove it. Save the security policy, but do not forget to activate. Yes, you can add a group here. You can remove by just clicking on this cross icon. Here it is X, and it will remove the security group from this list. All the security groups in this list, they have access to create an expense report for a pre-hire. Similarly, the Submit Expense Report web service. This is the integration. If you want to submit bulk expense reports, or if you do it on a separate system. Concur it used to be. It still is a very popular expense reimbursement kind of a product. Say, if the organization already uses that. SAP Concur, then what happens? You can create that expense report in Concur and pull over that information using an integration into Workday. In that case, you can use this particular web service, which is Submit Expense Report web service, to create that expense report in Workday and then go through the approval process and etc. Who all are able to do that? Who all are able to create that web service? Again, expense data interest specialist, expense integration system, implementers, and of course, the integration administrators. You see here, mostly it is talking about integration. Whenever you see web service, it is an integration kind of a permission. Similarly, submit expense report for applicant. If you notice carefully, the create expense report for applicants equivalent web service is submit expense report for applicant. And the create expense report is equivalent to submit expense report web service. Whatever tasks you do manually using create expense report can be done using submit expense report web service. And if it's create expense report for pre-hire, the same thing can be done using submit expense report for applicant web service. When you do integrations, you will look for these type of web services: submit expense report for applicant, etc. Now let me ask you this one final question from this page. Who can do this? Who can create an expense report on behalf of other workers or for anybody for that matter? Who can create an expense report on behalf of anybody or any other worker? The option that I mentioned. Under security groups, who can delegate this action to others? Where you see it? You see this? No. If you can, my question is who can create it on behalf of any other workers or for any other workers? Thank you. Look at the screen carefully and you will see. Or if you are not able to find it, let me highlight it. Is it the expense data entry specialist? And the implementers? Absolutely, it's here at the bottom corner. It's at the bottom corner of your screen where you have this too. Sets of people expense data entry specialists. They can do it for any worker. They can create it on behalf of any worker and also implementers. These two security groups have the authority to create an expense report for workers. Nobody else. You see, the manager can do it only for an applicant. The employee can do it for themselves, but an expense data entry specialist or an implementer can do it for other people as. This is controlled by the business process security policy in the section which talks about who can start the business process. Then we do go to another section which talks about who can do what. Now can you tell me who can review a business process report? Sorry, who can review an expense report? Who can review an expense report? Correct. Expense partner, HR partner, management chain manager, manager's manager, project manager, recruiter. All of these people have the authority to be able to review an expense report. Now my question is, when you create an expense report, who will actually get the task to approve? Is it all of them? Is it one of the security groups? How does it work? Who will actually get the task to approve? Is it the manager? Is it the manager's manager? Who is it going to approve? The reporting manager. Reporting manager? You say the reporting manager. Why not? The HR partner. Why not? The project manager. Why not the recruiter? Where do we define? Let me ask you in this way. Where do we define who gets to approve with the expense report request. How do we define that? Which section of Workday talks about the sequence of steps that needs to happen to achieve a business process? The business process. It needs to be defined in the business process. Now, if you go to the business process definition, and I want you to think and correlate with what you did as part of your compensation assignment. What did you do in a business process definition? You edited it, you added a step. You said proposed compensation higher and you selected compensation partner. Correct? That's what you did. If you go to the business process definition, it will say that yes, compensation partner should do this task, and then you assign the role of compensation partner to somebody, Logan McNeil, in your supervisory organization. That's what you did now. What does this do then? The business process security policy, and we have a bunch of security groups for a particular task. Then what does this do? This is the list of allowed security groups who are authorized to do the task. That means you can include either of these security groups as part of your business process definition. Did you understand that? Let's say you now create your business process definition. You add a step which says review expense report. You add a step called review expense report. You have to choose from either of these ones. You can choose between an expense partner or her partner or manager's manager and on. You have to choose either of the ones mentioned here, and you have to include only one in your review step. You can choose only from this list. Can you choose compensation partner as part of the review expense report task in a business process? As per this diagram, the answer is no, you cannot. You cannot do that because compensation partner is not in this list. Compensation partner is not in this list. In my business process definition, I will not be able to select compensation partner for the review expense report task. Understood? Questions, doubts? Only one yes. Yes, in the review task, in the business process definition, we will be able to select only one security crew. From what list? There can be many security groups in the tenant. Which one can we choose? Only the ones mentioned here now. Let me ask you a more tricky question. What if I want the compensation partner to review my expense report? I want the compensation partner to do that. Then what should I do? If I hear you correctly, there is an audio issue. What I will do is maybe I will add the compensation partner to the list. Is that what we will do? I just put the X just to make it in sync with the other, that I'm also able to delete it later. That's why I added the X at the front. That it looks similar to the other ones, I have to add the compensation partner to the list of security groups. Are we clear on that? And then I have to save it, I have to activate it. Then I will go back to my business process definition and I will get it in the drop down list if I want to have the compensation partner to be able to review an expense report. Clear? This is a very misunderstood concept. A lot of people make mistakes. They are not able to see a certain security group in the dropdown and then they are lost. They are not sure when to do the changes. You go to the domain security policy, you give the permissions. Everything looks, but still you don't get the group in the dropdown. What can be the reason? The reason is you have not added the security group in the business process security policy in that particular step. We have to add in this particular section, which says review expense report. And then if you add it, save it. Activate the security policy. Then go back to the business process definition and add the compensation partner to the review expense report step. Quite a few steps involved. But if you think logically, you will be able to do it. First you have to make the policy changes, then do the assignment changes all then again in the audit. Expense report section. These are the security groups who will be able to do it in the review. Tax. These are the groups. We will be able to do it now. These are some action steps in the business process. Now there are some other types of steps. Who can do actions on the entire business? Process who can view. Who can view all the steps? There are a bunch of security groups. Who can view all the steps? Who can approve? Who can approve the steps? You see accounting. Manager, alternate approver, chief financial officer, chief, the company costing manager and on. These people would be able to approve an expense report. Similarly, ad hoc approved. Who can do an ad hoc approval? If you want an ad hoc approved, then there are a bunch of security groups who can do it. Who can correct? Who can correct a business firm? Who can correct this business process? Only the accounting manager and implementers will have the authority to correct an expense report event as per this diagram. Only those people will be able to make the changes. Makes sense. And the business process security policies will also vary from business process to business process. It is totally dependent on what business processes are you select. And depending on that, the exact action step at CA will vary. But one thing is common across all business process steps. That is the first thing, that is, who can start the business process. That section is absolutely common for everything. And this one, who can do action steps in the business process. We looked at what we looked at. The expense report business process. Now let's also try it out for our hire business process. Let's try it out for hire business process and let's see if that holds true. For this case, let's go to again, start proxy. Start proxy. Did it start? No, I didn't start proxy. If I go to that particular security policy, and can anyone remind me what was the task I used to go there? Business process. Security policies for functional area. That is something that we can use, and I go to stuffing and I will go to hire. Let me also choose another one, hire. And while we are at it, let me also choose a termination, one the business process that we will use to terminate a worker. I'm choosing the security policies for two business processes. All now I want you to tell me. Let's wait for it to load. Now it's here. Now tell me who can start the hire employee process. By looking at the screen, you see we have this section who can start the business process, who can start the hiring. The FBIR executive. Where did you get our executive here? Here, but that is the web service. And where do we use web services for integration? We will not use this for our EU. If somebody is doing it in the UI in the Workday tenant, these security groups will not be affected. But which ones would be this FBI HR analyst? Whoever is given this role of FBI AR analyst, they will be able to do it. And all this Motown ones, Motown organization, partner, Bralara, whatever these are the security groups that would be able to do it. And can anyone tell me who will be able to convert a contingent worker to an employee? App Office Manager and on. There are 199 of those security groups mentioned. They will be able to convert a contingent worker to an employee. And then there are other bunch of other tasks as you see all of these tasks look the same. Hire employee. This one also is hire employee. That's why supervisory organization. When we go to the related actions, we see 3 or 4 different hire employee options. And if you click on the first of them, if the screen looks different, if click on the second one, the screen looks slightly different, it is because they are different tasks, although all of them are named the same. But what are they all used for? Let's look at the first hire employee. There is a description which says it selects from existing pre-hires and former workers or creates a new pre-hire and hires them into an open position. This is this particular task hire employee. Now there is another hire employee here. It says selecting from existing pre-hires and former workers and hire in an open position. Also enables hiring from the related actions menu of a former worker, job requisition, pre-hire supervisory organization or an unfair. If you are taking related actions from the former worker, a job requisition, etc., then this is the task that you should do. Although the name is also hire employee. And similarly, the other hire employee, hire an employee directly from an employment agreement. This is again from Workday recruitment. Now, who is allowed to do that? Is anyone allowed to hire an employee directly from their employment agreement as part of this setup? What do you think? Is anybody able to do that? No, because this is empty. There is no security group that is allowed to hire an employee directly from their employment agreement. Similarly, who is allowed to hire a student? Because it is empty, no one is authorized to do that. And similarly, here we have another hire employee option, which says search for pre-hires former workers, inactive students or inactive external students, and hire them into an open position. This is also another hire employee task. But thankfully, we don't have any security groups here. If we had security groups here, then we would have seen multiple hire employee options. But here again, 2 more hire employee options. Hire an employee from the related actions of a pre-hire former worker, and after student, etc., etc. All of these are different flavors of the hire employee task. It is there in multiple places. It is. Some of them are overlapping with each other. Why do we have many hire employee tasks? It is because we may need to segregate what each section of the population can do. What is the manager authorized? What is the recruitment partner? What is the recruiter authorized? What is the HR partner authorized to do? For that, we may give them access to the different higher employee tasks. Most of it is similar, but there are subtle differences as based on which one works for us, we have to give the access. If all my hiring would be done by the recruiters, then I would give them only access to something at the top here and remove the access from the other areas. I'll keep it simple and less confusing. This is about who can start now, who can do action steps in the business process, who can review an employee hire, who can do the review, step again, HR partner, HR analyst, and some. Organization, partners, these are some of the groups who can do it and who can do actions on the entire business process. The view all. View completed only. Approve. Ad hoc approve. These are some things that will be common for all business process definitions. And you can include the security groups as part of this. Let's look at the termination business process. In the termination business process security policy, who can initiate the terminate employee task? You see around 172 security groups have been given the authority to initiate the terminate employee. Now do we have the all employees somewhere? We don't have the all employees security group. If we have the all employee security group, then there will be utter chaos because everybody will be authorized to terminate another employee. We don't have that. We only have office managers, senior HR partners, managers, executives. We have those set of people who are authorized to terminate an employee. And we have a bunch of HR partners that we are authorized to do that. Now using a web service, again, this is an integration. If you use an integration to terminate an employee, if you have to do a bulk termination, then these are the security groups. 160 of them are eligible or are authorized to terminate an employee. And then we have some other actions. Terminate from submit resignation. Terminate for review probation period, import terminate employee. It's a background web service. Terminate for review employee contracts. These are some of the tasks that are available in the system. And these are the security groups that are associated with it. Again, we have this section which says who can do action steps in the business process. This section, I said, is common for all business process definitions. Business process security policies, It is common for all business process security policies. We will configure certain groups as part of the security policies. Yes, question? And how do we edit the security policy? We scroll down to the bottom, edit permissions. We will edit the permissions and we can add or remove security groups as part of this domain business process security policy permissions. If I want to remove a office manager, I will remove that. If I'm senior or partner, I will remove. I wanted to remove this. I remove this. And then I will click on. If I want to add someone to the security group, then I will go to this particular task, let's say terminate from submit to resignation. I want to have the partner the ability to do that. I will say a partner and there was, let's say, this one. Or there was this our partner mem. Let's use this and click open. Now what did I do? I added a security group to the business process security policy. I added that And then, what should I do? After I made a change, activate. I have to activate the pending security policy changes. Let me do that. Yes. Question Shruti. Oh no, sorry, I have joined again. Oh, then after we make the change to the security policy, then we have to activate pending security policy changes. We do that and you will see that I have making a change. That's the case. A Trish changed. Termination, hire and termination, business process security. Hire and termination policies. But I think we did not change the hire, we only changed the termination one. Click, we will find out. It's reviewing the changes. What all has been done since the last change. And you see, only the termination business process type has been changed at such and such times. I will click I confirm and it will activate the termination business process. Security policy changes that we have done. The next thing that we will talk about is, let's quickly review, then what are the different security reports or the security tasks that we came across. Before I go to that page and give you the answer, let me ask you what are the different tasks that you remember from what we did as part of this few sessions. What were the tasks or the reports that we used related to security? One is activate pending security policy changes. What else? Let me try noting them down somewhere. Think whatever comes to your mind. One is active. Functional areas, yes. What will that do? That will show us all the functional areas. List of all areas. Yes, very important. And we can select the domains and the business processes from there. And we can navigate to those domains and business processes. Perfect. The name of the report is functional area. We can also edit those security policies. We can do that. Correct. What else? Domain security policies for functional area. Domain security policies for functional area. What does this do? It asks you for the functional area, and then if you enter the functional area, it asks you what domain you want to choose. Or it gives you a list of all the domains that are part of the functional area. And you can edit the permissions. You can choose the domain security policy that you are looking for. And you can edit the permissions. It gives you a list of all domains within a functional area. Let me use, and you can review and edit the permissions. Domain security policies for functional area. What else? What are the tasks? We had this equivalent of this today as we saw an equivalent task for this today. What was that? Business process security policies for functional area, correct business process. The security policies for functional area, what does that one do it again? List the BP. Security policies for FA. And you can view edit. This is business process security policies for functional area. What else? Remember the task that I said that you can use to find the security for something. What was that? Secured security for secured item. View security for secureable item. View security for secureable item. Not secured item, but secureable. What does this do? This is very important. We also lovingly call it as viewsec for sec. That's the shortcut that we use viewsec for sec. What does this view security for secureable item do? We can use this for where to check the security. To set or to search. Sorry, I missed it. I could not hear properly. What do we use this for? Find out the reference of each. Any field, wherever it is. Any field, yes, any field. If we are looking for any field, let's say emergency contacts, first name, last name, hire date, is it only related to fields or can it be something else? I mean, from there we can easily find it out. The pages or anything, it can be anything. It can be a business process as let's see that. Let's say I don't know what controls the access to hire employee. What can we do? View sec for sec. We know a task. We know that there is a task somewhere which says hire employee, but we do not know. Is it a task? Is it a report? Is it a business process? We don't know that. Let's say we are not aware. We only know there is something called as hire employee. What you see? What does it say here? Hire employee task. Now, there is a task called hire employee. Who has the access to do it, or what is the security for it? Click on View Security. And you see the good thing here. It says it's a business process security. It is not a domain security. It says it is a business process security. That means I have to change what? The domain security policy or the business process security policy. What do I have to change? Business process, business process, business process. You have to go to the related actions and then you have the option to go to business process policy. And you have the option to view, or you have the option to edit. The business process policy means the business process security policy. If I click on view, it shows me the business process security policy. Just this is the one we were seeing a few minutes ago. The same security policy it is showing. But how did I navigate? I did not know the functional area. I did not know anything. I just searched for hire employee and I looked at the view security. It helped me to come to this particular security policy. The view security for secureable item, that is a very, very powerful report that we had. Please remember to use this whenever you have any doubts in terms of security. And you will use this often when you create reports, when you create integrations. Or especially when you create reports. And this is also a very, very common report that we will use to help other users. Let's say you are working as a Workday consultant. And then the other user comes in and says, hey, I cannot access a particular report. Can you please help me? You are the admin. Can you? Or maybe you are a specialist. Can you help me what to give, what access to give? You will look at view security for secureable item. Please keep this in mind. Is very, very powerful report. Now let's take a look at some of the other ones as we can do a security analysis for action for security group or for account. We will use this when we do our reports, and of course we have the most important one mentioned here, view security for secureable item. Correct. And then of course we talked about this domain security policies for functional areas and business process security policies for functional areas. And you will be happy to note that there are two tasks which are this domain security policies with pending changes and business process security policies with pending changes, but this task is typically used by the security administrator. They are the ones who will run this task, domain security policies with pending changes. Business process security policies with pending changes. Now, why is that important? Because before going to activate, they would want to understand what changes have been made, which are the security policies that were changed. This one is important for a security administrator's perspective. And then there are some other tasks which are important. View security groups for users. If you want to understand what are the different security groups that one particular worker is a member of. Let's say you did something. You did some restriction, etc. But then still, one particular worker is able to access a certain thing, then you are scratching your head. I did everything correctly. How is this user still able to access this? Then you will go and see the view security groups for users. You will look up that user, let's say Logan McNeil, and you will see what are the security groups that she is a part of. If something looks fishy, something looks out of place, you'll remove that and try again. Few security groups for users will allow you to see the security group membership of a particular worker or particular user. It will include role-based, it will include process, maintained user-based everything. All the groups that the worker is a part of. This is also a very interesting debugging tool that we have, and absolutely, if you are working as the admin, if your job involves resetting passwords, enabling accounts, then these are two of the tasks that you may use often. Workday accounts currently locked out by excessive failed sign-on attempts. If somebody is logging in and using the wrong password multiple times, they will be locked out. Which are the accounts that are locked out? Which are the Workday accounts with expired passwords? You may want to take a look at that and clean up some of the IDs if you see that they are no longer necessary. Now let's do a quick quiz. Quick quiz about security. What are the two types of security policies? What are the two types of security policies? Domain security policy and business process security. But perfect domain security policies and business process security policies, true or false? Role-based security is assigned to a worker. False. False. The answer is false. Where do we assign a role-based security group? Where or to whom? To the position. We will say false. Abeski or role-based security group is assigned to a position or job. It is assigned to a position or job. It is never assigned to a worker. What was the answer to the first question? Let's put it, since we have this option now. What are the two types of security policies? And we will say they are rule-based. Sorry, what am I saying? Domain security policies. And security policies, domain security policies, and business process security policies. What are some examples of assignable rules? Or partner manager, compensation, partner payroll, or partner pay. Payroll partner manager, yes, absolutely. Who else are analyst? Can her analyst be an example? Her analyst, these are examples of role-based security groups. What are examples of User-based security groups are admin, payroll admin, business process admins. These are some examples of user-based security, anything other than admins. Anything you can think of other than admins, auditors, yes, auditors, maybe security. Auditor organization. Auditor, security auditor, payroll auditor. They are part of user-based security groups. What report is used to find the security policy? That an object is secured by. U security. Of secured. Common. Your security items. Your security. For secure or off. For secured. Do not forget this. This is your best friend when you are dealing with security. I know view sec for sec works, but this is your go-to person or go-to task whenever you have any problems with security, because it is not possible for any person, no matter how experienced that person is, to search for. I mean to remember all the domains, all the security policies, all the functional areas. Not possible. And one day comes up with new domains, sometimes new functional areas, with each offering, with each release. It is absolutely not possible for us to remember that. The only way we are able to find out the correct security policy is using view security for secureable item. We will use this. We will search the report, the task, the field that we want. And from there we will do the security policy. It can be a business process security policy. It can be a domain security policy. We will edit the permission. We will add or remove the security group that we need. And then what will we do? We will activate. Then the security changes will take effect. Or now let me ask you this. Is the Workday security system somewhat making sense to you now, how we assign or how we control who has access to do what? You may not understand it completely, but at least you have some idea of how this security system is working. Yes, some idea there are something. Let's say I want you to allow the compensation partner the ability to initiate the hiring. What would you do? A compensation partner should be able to initiate hiring. What are the different things you might have to change? Add it to the security group and then activate after. What is a compensation partner? Compensation partner is a role. Is a role, correct. That means if it is a role. And what type of security group is associated with it? A role-based. Should be assigned to a position, a role-based, and it should be assigned to a position. How do we assign somebody? Let's say I want Shruti to be a compensation partner for XYZ Motors, then what should I do? I'll go to roles, assign roles. Assign roles. And I will select the role I want to assign, which is compensation partner. I will search for Shruti's name. And whatever is Shruti's position, that will be assigned to the role of compensation partner for XA Motors. Now that part is done, the role assignment is done, but I want Shruti as a compensation partner. Should be also able to initiate the hiring. Then what should I do? She is complaining that she is the compensation partner. In the last meeting, everybody decided that compensation partner should be able to initiate hiring. She started doing it Monday morning. She's not able to do it. She's very upset. Can we help to be able to initiate the hiring? What all needs to be done? We have assigned the role to her. She is now their compensation partner. What all needs to happen? We need to go and make changes in the business process security policy. Yes. And then what should we need to do? What access should we need to give to the hiring hour? In which section of the business process security policy to initiate? Who can start the business process? In that particular section, we need to do what? Let's try to put it down. Now our objective. What is the objective? Allow com partner to initiate hire. What is it we do? Prep work or background? In the background, we should have a security group. Ensure that we have RBSG, a role-based security group called compensation partner. We will first check that. If it doesn't exist, then what should we do? We have to create it. If the compensation partner is not existing, we will create it. Then what we do? The role to a position in a supervisory organization. That is something that we also have to do then. Then we will have to ensure that compensation partner can initiate. Hire, this is what we actually set out to do. To do that, what do we need to do? One, you said edit. Edit what? Business process security policy. For which type of business process? For which business process? For the hired business process. And let's say you do not know the staffing. Now, how would you edit the business process security policy? How would you find out what? What is the business process security policy? Music for second, then what would? You search for hire employee, it will show you a bunch of options. Choose the security policy and most likely you will end up seeing that it is a business process security policy. This is one option, perfect. What else can we do? Is there any other way we can find out? Business security policy for functional area. Absolutely. Business process security policies for functional area. We can make use of that as we can search for that. We can look for that. Business process security policy, and we can find out that business process security policy. What else can we do? I did not tell you this, but you can actually navigate to the BP definition. You can navigate to the business process definition and then related actions. Business process policy. And then you can view or edit. If you do that, if you go to the business process definition, and if you go to view or edit, then what happens? You are also taken to the business process security policy. This is another way of checking the business process policy permissions. And then what would you do? You found out the business process security policy. Then what should you do? We edit the policy. And what do we do? Who can start the process? We will go to that section. And in the hire employee task, we will add the com partner. This is what we will do. In the who can start the process section, we will go to the hire employee task. We will add the compensation partner. Then what? Then what? Activate yes always. Activate pending security policy. And then what? In Fruity. Hey, please try again. Please try now. After that, it's done. We will inform the compensation partner for whom we are doing it. And we will tell him or her that it's now ready. Please go ahead. Give it a try. We are not creating a new domain security policy permission. We are not creating a new business process security policy permission. We're just editing that. Those policies we are adding. The security groups. Depending on the type of the request, we will add the security groups. And we will activate the security policy changes. That's what we are going to do. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.